On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, send in listener questions. Did Alec Baldwin talk himself into charges? YouTube crackdowns and the real brace battle. Okay, welcome back everybody. This is episode 287 of the John 1911 podcast. It is currently Saturday night, so whatever the date Saturday night is, I don't have the thing in front of me. So, going to do a solo episode, and those of you that are regulars, I am certain can guess why that is happening, probably because of the quality of this audio. We have been having some issues with the last few episodes. We switched podcast software, and I have to take full credit for this disaster. I'm the one that wanted to have a more mobile implementation to record podcasts because I wanted to be able to record podcasts at the John 1911 range. Maybe if I go see Danny up in Chicago, or do whatever. If I have a higher quality, do a mobile remote podcast setup, and so I thought I'd found the perfect solution, and unfortunately, that has not happened. The good news is we have done some testing, and we've been dealing with some tech support, and we do have some implementations in place. So we think we have it. However, the last couple episodes have been such a dumpster fire, I didn't want to risk, coming out of the gate with another flaming turd. So I just figured, let's go ahead. We'll do a solo. I'll record this one with my old backup software, which is very high quality, but it's not remote, and cover a couple things and ask some of you some questions. So the first thing is, I want to remind everybody, we are always open to listener questions. We get them all the time. I was actually dealing with a very fine gentleman tonight named Ming, who lives in Canada. He had reached out asking, he had some questions about some Blaser rifles, some barrels in particular, and he didn't quite know what he was looking at. So if you have any questions about anything, you can reach us through the website, or if you just want to have an email that's easy to remember, podcast@john1911.com. That's podcast@john1911.com. I do have some listener questions, in particular about some 1911s that I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to do that on this episode, unfortunately. I suspect the person is listening, but I've got some other stuff to do. You'll get a dedicated episode because you have so many. Your question was so long, you're going to get a dedicated episode. So this is kind of a free form, old business, new business. Let's get through all of my business kind of episode. As for what's been going on around here, there's been a few things. We are working more with the media team to produce higher quality videos. Initially, when we brought them on board, I was concerned that we were going to have, how do I say this? Like we were going to very quickly have two different tiers of video, kind of like what's happened with our podcast lately. We'd have like our regular pedestrian videos that we do, and then we would have these, I don't know, like George Lucas Star Wars level videos, and it would be nosebleed going back and forth. And I was trying to figure out a way to kind of balance that out, or maybe up the production value of all the stuff. But I've come to realize now, after fighting with this for most of 2022, that is not going to be possible. So there's no reason to bring the media guys in just to film, something on the workbench, or just to film an FAQ, or just to film something real basic where, if we're out on the range running and gunning or doing stuff, or there's things that complicated edits, multiple cameras, audio and gimbals and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you need a media team. So it just there is a cost to be considered, of course, but there's a logistics thing to be considered, and for them to drop everything to come running to set up, with them, it just for these short, for the kind of content we do just around the armory was just going to be too much. So I've accepted in 2023 we're going to be a two track video system. So for example, there's a video that I posted, I don't know, the past probably 48 hours on the website that was just basically I'm been shooting a integrally suppressed upper rifle, the Gemtech Integra. We have a reason to run ARs at least for the first half of this year, and so I've been trying to just keep that going. So they were out on site and we did some filming and they did some cool edits and did all that, and that's up on the website, so you can see the kind of level, the fancy stuff they like to do. Where like there's another video that posted, I think it was this morning. Or no, maybe it'll be tomorrow. Well, by the time you listen to this, it'll be up. So there's a video, not a detail strip, a field strip per viewer request of the Wilson Experior 9mm 1911, the full size single stack, more traditional 1911, not my daily carry gun. And so that gun had come in to be cleaned. It was nearing 2,000 rounds that we fired through it, and it needed to be cleaned. So, and I don't know, like the extractor channel was a lot dirtier than I thought it was going to be. That gun was pretty filthy for only having about 2,000 rounds through it, but gun runs fine. Like the gun is, impressive. But again, you look at that video, and right before it, or a day or two before it, you're going to see basically like the George Lucas whatever fancy video, and it's going to be obvious, is it going to be I don't know, Armory staff production video, or is it going to be the Hollywood? That's my nickname for the video. The guy that runs the video team. My nickname for him now. I told him I'm going to start calling him Hollywood. In our social media. So you'll be able to tell a big difference between stuff that I'm directing and stuff that Hollywood's directing. I don't think that'll going to come as any surprise to anybody. And now that I'm talking about integrally suppressed uppers, I guess this is a good time to maybe get some feedback from some of you guys. I don't consume a lot of firearms media. I think you could probably tell that. There's things I know and there's things I don't know, and I'm a slow learner, and so things I pick up and things I get into, like as much as deep in the firearms game as I am in, right? I've been doing this for 30 years and doing this professionally for close to 15, I guess, for this, and even longer with other stuff. So I have noticed belatedly, I guess it may have happened a few weeks ago, a bunch of the firearms social media channels on YouTube, I guess, are getting strikes or warnings or videos deleted. And my understanding is there's some kind of rule change. And if I can glean from the chatter, it seems to be maybe the idea you're not allowed to modify firearms, which I was aware of on YouTube. That's kind of a relatively new thing past couple years, I believe. But they have suddenly decided to say that if you attach a suppressor to a firearm, that is modifying a firearm. So I guess you're allowed to have suppressed guns, but you're not allowed to attach a suppressor on video. Do I have that right? If not, explain to me what's going on. podcast@john1911.com. Give me some feedback. Help a brother out. So I started noticing that like a lot of these bigger YouTube channels, and we all know who they are. I guess there's Garand Thumb. I know who he is, like on YouTube, and I certainly know who Forgotten Weapons is. And there's a couple others, and I'm not aware, and I guess they're small. If you look at them complaining about what YouTube is supposedly doing YouTube is doing to them, in the comments you'll see people that run smaller channels complaining about they delisted, or they made private all of their videos for the next 90 days because if they get one more strike, their channel's going to be deleted. And we have not had anything happen. I don't know if we have any videos attaching a suppressor. I would think we probably have at least one with a Blaser R8, putting a suppressor on it. But I'm not inclined to go look. So I guess there's a big push all of a sudden for people. I guess all these big YouTube channels have gotten religion about, Utreon or Rumble or I'm not even certain of all the alternative, media places, but we've been down this road a million times before. It was it Float Plane, and then there was Full 30, and then I don't know, like MeWe. Oh, remember MeWe? That was one. Parler was one, and there was even one that was, I guess, an app supposedly based in Saudi Arabia that was paid for by Russians. This is obviously predates the war in Ukraine, but like there's all the new hotness and whatever it is, and the reality is, none of it works. And it's not my fault, it's your fault. And when I say your, I guess it's like the royal we, this is the royal your. My goal on publishing to social media is not to grow a YouTube channel. There are things we could have done to grow our YouTube channel more rapidly. Our YouTube channel, if you look at our YouTube channel, actually is painfully slow growth. I mean, I don't think we even have 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's just ridiculous, which is fine. We have over 200,000 on Facebook. We have over 10,000 people on our mailing list. We do pretty good on the podcast. YouTube is not an area where we do that great. But what we do get out of YouTube is it brings in new people. People find us on YouTube. Why do they find us on YouTube? Because they're all on YouTube. Why are they all on YouTube? Because all the content they want to watch is on YouTube. And as much as these large social media channels will, say, go to this place, go to that place, go here, go there, they can publish as long as people can find their content on YouTube where they are already at. Most of them are not going to drop out of there, move laterally over just to watch your videos or my videos, and then, come back over to watch 99% of everything else. Like, the model doesn't work, and this is common sense. Now, if you are incentivized, if you're burning the bridges and you've got nowhere to go, if you have to convince people, you can't turn back. I mean, if you're that serious about it, delete all your stuff off of YouTube and move on over to those other places. But talking about that reminds me of a conversation that I had with somebody that is a large YouTuber. I'm not going to say who it is because it's a private conversation. But when we had started the John 1911 social media project, I guess, right? I had talked to them, these people, this is more than a person, and was asking about how they were structuring their social media. And in particular, what they were doing is they had a website. It wasn't their primary, what they were known for. They were big on YouTube. But they had a website, and I had noticed that they were embedding all of their videos on their website from YouTube. So if you would go to if you didn't want to watch them on YouTube, you could go to their website, you could read an article, do whatever, and there would be a video that you could play. You could play it, and it was literally a YouTube embed. And there's a very good reason to do that. YouTube rewards that kind of stuff. Also, the more views you can get on videos, YouTube goes, hey, this is an important video. I want to show it to more people. The more videos that are getting outside links, then YouTube can see that. And if it's getting these people coming in, and then those people watch another video, YouTube really likes that. So YouTube rewards that behavior. And I asked these people about their strategy for embedding YouTube videos on their website. And, the quote was, at the time, their quote was, I think it was the latest and greatest, whatever the, at the time, like MeWe or Utreon, I can't even remember what it was. They said they thought that would go away before Google would ever do anything, YouTube would ever do anything to them. And that is true. And that made complete sense, but it's short-sighted because what that did, that strategy, is one day you could wake up and you could find your YouTube channel, you can't post to it anymore, or you can't even find it anymore, or for some reason nobody's watching it. I know that the guys at CN Arsenal complain that their view numbers are way down because they're getting throttled, I guess is what their biggest complaint is. Well, the problem is the whole point of having a website is someplace where nobody can touch you. And so I was not going to spend every day building a website, john1911.com, where I was going to do the easy thing and just embed YouTube videos. Every time, there's a video that's going up that's a field strip of the Wilson Experior full-size 9mm 1911. Well, that video gets loaded into a server that we pay for. It costs money. But with the price, and it's about the price of a Glock pistol every year to give you, every year. And, for the price of a Glock pistol, I can sleep at night. And I know that I have a video that will always render on our website, and it will be there as long as we're paying for it. And, we have it set up that it actually dual loads to YouTube. I don't upload videos directly to YouTube. I upload to the server that on the back end it'll pump a copy privately up to YouTube. And so I knew that the day was coming that YouTube is going to kill all the they're going to kill us one way or the other. I don't know what killing us looks like. They in war, you don't want to create problems for your adversary, or you want to create dilemmas, because a problem or a dilemma can have more than one solution. So, for example, if all of a sudden YouTube whacks, I don't know, I'm going to name, Military Arms Channel, Forgotten Weapons, Garand Thumb. I'm trying to think of a fourth, big time YouTube channel, Nut and Fancy. If they whack those four people, I don't know how many millions of subscribers that is, and let's just assume that's one subscriber per channel. They're not duplicates. I don't know. Is that 5 million people, 6 million people, 7 million people? I don't know. All of a sudden, 7 million people are going to go somewhere to watch a video, and they're going to have to go to, Utreon or one of these other places. And YouTube knows this. YouTube is not going to, and create an incentive for a rebellion to take place and these rebels to go make their rebel base, like the Star Wars reference, over there at some alternative service that's more free than free, right? So they're going to do things like destroy monetization. They're going to throttle the content. They're going to make it so these people that are on these channels that apparently they were making money. I believe they were. And now they're making less and less and less money. And part of me is like, if you had just spent $600 a year, you could have had a backup server and a website. And if you have millions of subscribers, if you had 500,000 of them just go to your website, you would be fine. You could monetize that. You could merchandise that. You could leverage that. But no, none of these dudes. It was if it was free, it's for me. And YouTube is free and easy and like free crack. They're getting hammered. Do I think it's the end? No, because YouTube's not going to make it the end. But my goal for starting a YouTube channel is just to bring new people into the John 1911 ecosystem. It's to bring new people to the website, new people to our content. And so if I wake up tomorrow and YouTube has deleted the John 1911 YouTube channel, I don't care. I would appeal it just pro forma, be like, well, just appeal it. And, when they give the no, be like, okay, whatever. Start up another one, John 1911 Gun Blog 2 or John 1911, Revenge of John 1911, and I would just put a new link into the byline for the YouTube channel, and I would literally just start posting whatever new video is scheduled for tomorrow. That would be the video that goes up. I wouldn't backload anything. I wouldn't do whatever, because I can't care about YouTube. They don't care about me, so I can't care about them. We have a parasitic relationship with YouTube. They are free, and I don't give a shit. So it's perfect, right? It's like perfect dysfunctional relationship. And it's going to be super interesting, not just to watch these large, because there are some like these gun channels, they call them gun channels. How do I say this? I don't know numbers, because I don't hang around with the cool kids. Like, I don't go to we don't hang around like big media people generally. I mean, we know some, but it's just not, they're so cool, a lot of them, and they're so cliquey, and it's a club, and it's not my scene personally, and that's probably that's a personal character flaw reflected of me, but it also shows up in the John 1911 business model. And so a lot of these companies, or a lot of these YouTube channels have suddenly found themselves in a position where what they did as a hobby has turned into a full-time job. They were making real money. But I think it's slowly starting to creep into their minds that stuff like this isn't going to last forever. There was a time when MySpace was the biggest social media thing. There was a time when, whatever it was the latest and greatest thing. And the idea that you can be, I don't know, whatever age, and you're going to be on YouTube, and you're going to be a YouTuber for the next 30 years is pretty fanciful. And, I don't know what's going on with the other people on YouTube, but I know the gun channel people, they're scrambling, especially the ones that apparently are not, now they're not being monetized. And so if they were making, let's just say they were making $100,000 a year. And I think looking at some of the numbers, probably some of them are. I think some of them probably make more. But if they're down and they're used to that, and that's, they've given up other opportunities, or they haven't developed other professional opportunities, they've put all this into YouTube, into an ecosystem that they're not paying for, that doesn't care for them. And they have put their head in the sand, not wanting to accept the reality that if one day soon, Uncle Sugar's coming for them. And, they're going to go from being a $100,000 a year business to maybe a $15,000 a year business. And I think it's going to be super interesting to see what happens. We are positioned, John 1911, to build a business model that is self-sustaining. We are positioned at John 1911 to be completely independent of outside forces. What is the motto of John 1911? Shooting guns and having fun. It's not building a YouTube channel. It's not being cool. It's documenting it's either documenting things going on in our lives, people around the armory, or it is showing where we are trying to learn and get better. And so that business model is about living our lives and doing what we are doing. It's not a fake thing. So, now I'm really going off on a tangent, and I appreciate you listening to me. It's, sometimes the politics is too much, and it's good to just have these personal therapy sessions. But the purpose of John 1911 isn't to be the minstrel or the class clown or to say, look at me, look at me. The purpose of John 1911 is living our lives. And so that we don't do things for the gram. We don't do things for YouTube, which, hey, I mean, in all honesty, like, that's reflected, especially in our YouTube numbers. Like, we don't functionally have a YouTube channel. We have 2,800, and I love every one of you. We get new ones every day. It's fantastic, Like if I check the YouTube subscriber numbers and it goes up one person, I'm like, hey, we went up today. Or if it goes up 2 or 3, I'm not exaggerating. Like, hey, we went up 3 people today. But, the motivations for what we're doing is grounded in the reality of our lives. It's not trying to serve the algorithm or whatever, whatever. We're not chasing the spotlight across the stage. It's the spotlight wants to come on us. We're over here shooting guns and having fun. If the spotlight doesn't want to look at us, that's okay. We're still over here shooting guns and having fun. And the beauty is we publish all of our content on a website that also has video. That long tail shows up in all of the competitive search engines, and eventually when people are looking on subjects or looking for information on stuff and they cross a subject that we have covered or something we're doing, bam, they come in. For example, that's how a guy who's in Canada with who's ethnically Chinese is emailing me about his Blazer barrels, if they're real or not, in up there in Canada somewhere. Because long tail, he found us either search engine or YouTube, which is a search engine, ends up, seeing kind of what we're doing, goes to the website, goes, holy crap, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, the things I'm interested in. And we're communicating with him. And I believe he's going to be a follower and a subscriber. So it would be to my benefit. And I'm not saying this to be selfish, because I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen. I really don't. But if YouTube were to suddenly nuke all the gun channels tomorrow, that would seriously benefit John 1911. I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen to anybody. I don't wish bad things on anybody. Maybe there's might be like that one person, but that person's dead. And I had nothing to do with it. But we're set up that the worse it gets, the better we are. And it's just interesting to see or to wonder what's going to happen, how things are changing, how these companies, because in many ways, these YouTube channels are companies, are going to try to pivot and maintain their audiences. And it's really interesting that they're constantly begging and complaining, please go to Utreon, please go to Floatplane, please go to Patreon, please go to here. And it doesn't seem like you guys are doing it. And, I don't know. If there isn't a change, what would be the condition that would have John 1911 publish on, say, Utreon? I don't think I've ever been to Utreon. I might have logged in. I logged into one of these, so I guess technically we made an account. It's the password's locked up in the office, wherever that is. But we would do that if YouTube disappeared. If YouTube went away, the gun channels went away, those eyeballs are going to go somewhere. And so we would just pop up at that place, and we would be the same business model, trying to pull people over to our social media, pull people over to our mailing list, pull people over to our website, because John1911.com will always be 100 times more important, 1,000 times more important to us than anybody on Facebook or on YouTube. 3 industry and social commentary things. We'll go ahead and wrap it up tonight. I think a 30-minute, or maybe by the time this is done, 40-minute podcast, 35, 38-minute podcast will be plenty long enough, for this audio test, and to, kind of, clear the desk of, stuff that's on my mind. So, we've obviously been following the ATF thing with the braces. I've made my position clear. We've never owned a braced gun. We've never owned a brace. We understood. Again, looking at this, there was no way I didn't feel like this was going to last. This is not like I told you so. This is not what this is. All I'm saying is, I'd rather have a real stock on a shorty gun, not some kind of stock that might be okay or may not be okay. Especially when it's given on the whims of a letter from the ATF that can just as easily be taken away. And so But now we're in a place where obviously they're coming for the braces, and the real battle here is, and we've addressed this already, but I want to reiterate it. The real battle isn't over braces. It's not. That is not the battle. That is, if you're trying to fight the ATF on braces at this point, you have the wrong mentality. You're going to lose because you're trying to negotiate with the serial killer. The serial killer is going to kill you anyway. It's like No Country for Old Men. Don't be the person that's going to sit there and try to talk your way out of it. The dude's just going to shoot you with his shotgun anyway. So instead of playing his game, your only way out is to come up with your own game and maybe get lucky. The real battle here is the idea of SBRs. And then challenging that and removing it out of the NFA. I doubt we're going to be able to destroy the NFA, but I think there's a real argument here to be made that possibly make SBRs, take them out of the NFA. The problem with that is I believe SBRs by statute were actually passed in the 1934 National Firearms Act. It wasn't an opinion that put it in there. It was passed by Congress. And so the only grounds that we could overturn SBRs would be unconstitutional grounds. One of the things that I think is interesting with the SBR thing is the Miller case. And what I mean by that is people are like discovering, and thankfully so, people are discovering all the arguments about, what is an SBR? How did it come about? Historically, what were they trying to do? Is really trying to also, because they're going to ban guns. So it was to close a loophole, and people are figuring all that out, which is great because, you have to know your history so you can learn from it. Well, there's another case, and I've never really harped on it too much, and it occasionally will bubble up somewhere, and the case is called Miller. And this case is when you get, and this is, I'm making a reference to the idea of trying to argue with the serial killer, trying to argue with I want to say Anthony Bourdain, but that's the cook. Bourdain, whatever the guy's name in No Country for Old Men with the suppressed shotgun. That guy's looking to kill you. And so the argument that I think has the most interest here is the first real challenge that I'm aware of to the NFA, I think happened in 1940. A guy was arrested for having a short-barreled shotgun, and he, filed a lawsuit on basis, claiming that the NFA was unconstitutional on constitutional grounds, because of the Second Amendment. The Supreme Court let his conviction stand. Their justification was, under the Second Amendment, the militia statement. Off the top of my head, a militia being necessary, the perpetuation of a free state, however it goes, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's roughly what the Second Amendment says. I didn't study for this. They said, is a shotgun a military weapon? And at the time, it was basically agreed that no, a shotgun is not a military weapon. So the Supreme Court said the Second Amendment, as it's designed and as it's written and if its intent, is to cover military weapons for the defense of the state and of the citizenry, not sporting weapons like shotguns. Well, keep that in mind when you see people talking about, they call them assault weapons. It's like, it's not assault, it's just assault weapons. So then we play the game, we come up with modern sporting rifle. It's MSR, it's a modern sporting rifle. And that's cool. That wins the short-term argument. But keep in mind, that argument also undercuts your standing to challenge the NFA under the Miller case. And so be careful what you wish for. Don't be too cute by half. And I think instead of trying to go after braces, let's go after SBRs. I don't know. The ATF has obviously decided that they're not going after braces either. They're reclaiming SBRs. The functional reality of the practical implications of the pistol brace are that the SBR is not functionally in the NFA. And so the battle is over SBRs. It's not really over braces. And so I don't know what happens. I've never owned a pistol brace. We certainly have benefited from pistol braces because pistol braces have encouraged manufacturers and importers to bring in pistols, air quotes, shorty ARs, shorty AKs, and, other shorty guns and sub guns that have gas systems that are tuned to run as short guns, as opposed to taking a gun, SBRing it, chopping down a barrel, then the gas system doesn't work, and you got to modify the gas system, and you get these things to run, and it's just so much easier to buy a pistol, be like, file paperwork, put a stock on it, ipso facto, blam, 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 the thing runs. And, I don't want to give that up either. I think we should go after SBRs. I think we should make the argument, the standard military M4 rifle is a 14-inch barreled gun. I don't think it's 14.5. I think it's 14. I think the M4, whatever the M4A, I don't know what version of is it M4A1? Or is there whatever, but it's basically a 14-inch gun. And, the militia statement on the Second Amendment, right to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. It's like, wait a minute. If the Army can have a 14-inch gun, how come we can't have a 14-inch gun? How come we have to go and to exercise our rights, we have to go ask permission? It's like a prior restraint argument. I think there's a lot of room here to win this. Not to fight over this, not to fight over the braces. I think it's to fight over the SBRs. Maybe you disagree. Two more things real quick, and we're going to toss it. First thing is, let's talk about Alec Baldwin. Let's talk about Alec Baldwin's situation. I think on the last episode of the John 1911 podcast, I had made a comment basically saying, a lot of people on my side of the aisle that want to run Alec Baldwin down are, we're conservative, he's liberal, we're nice people, he's obnoxious. But you see what I'm saying? He's a very unsympathetic person, okay? And the example I gave was, imagine a similar situation, a similar movie set, a similar genre, and instead of Alec Baldwin, it was Tom Selleck. And Tom Selleck ended up shooting two people on a set. I wonder how many people would be, the exact same set of circumstances, would be saying, run him down, burn him down, get him, as opposed to, wait a minute, what about the armorer? What about protocols? What about this? What about that? So with that said, and if I can make what argument would I make if it was Tom Selleck versus Alec Baldwin? You got to also say, has Alec Baldwin talked himself into charges? Because if Alec Baldwin hadn't gotten on TV and said blatantly stupid stuff, so, and Alec Baldwin's one of these people, he doesn't have the benefit of logic. He doesn't have the benefit of experience. He trades in emotion. And so he says things he thinks he can get away with, but he immediately started talking to the media, which he shouldn't have done. And then he got on national television and said, I didn't pull the trigger. The gun malfunctioned. I didn't pull the trigger. And it's like, he doesn't know anything about guns. He doesn't know anything about mechanical devices. And it's going to be very easy. It's going to be very easy to prove or disprove that based on the mechanical condition of the firearm. Okay? So in an effort to save himself, he started talking out of his ass. Well, the problem is when the trial starts, whether it ends up being a criminal trial or whether it's a civil trial, there's going to be video, and it's going to show that Alec Baldwin got on national television and told an untruth. And that is going to hurt him in court. And then, then he made some comment about, well, if I thought I was guilty, I would have killed myself. And while that doesn't seem like a comment that, that really is pertinent to the case, it actually is, because it shows this infantile unwillingness to accept reality or responsibility. And instead, you will say any crazy thing to try to get out of this. You're more prone to lie than you are to just be like, oh shit, this was terrible. How was that comment about I would kill myself if I thought I was guilty any different than all these people who were like, if Donald Trump gets elected, I'm leaving the country? That's exact same type of emotional vomit statement that people will make, not based in reality, but it's hyperbolic, and it doesn't play well in court. Because I could be in court and I could show that statement and I could be like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Alec Baldwin, is he dead? No. Has he ever come close to being dead? No. Has he tried to make himself dead? No. And, this is just getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And I can't help but think, if Alec Baldwin, what do they say when you're talking, involved in a self-defense shooting? Shut the fuck up. And I hate to curse. I try not to. But that's what they say. He should have shut up. But I don't know if it's arrogance. I don't know if it's ignorance. I don't know if it's this idea that he's the smartest person in the room. For all I know, he's a Mensa member. He is the smartest person in the room. But whatever that is telling him to not shut the F up and keep spinning, hoping, like, if I just say this, I'll get out of it. That didn't work. Well, then I'll say this, I'll get out of it. That didn't work. It doesn't work like that in court. And I think there's a lesson, because most people on our side of the argument or our side of the aisle are they're enjoying the Schadenfreude, enjoying the suffering of others, enjoying Alec Baldwin suffering. But we really should be doing is we should be looking this as if it was a police officer or someone involved, the CCW person involved in a shooting, and how should you behave or not behave versus what happened. I mean, Alec Baldwin's responsible. He pulled the trigger on the gun. He's responsible. But you could just as easily make an argument that he's less responsible, that he was relying on the expertise and the advice of professionals, the gun handlers that were supposed to be working on this set. And if he had just shut up, and if at court it came out, well, I did this, they told me to do that, they told me to stand here, and then, did you check the serial? Like, oh, I didn't, or I didn't know, I did, but I didn't know what I was looking at. Well, like, why did you know what you're looking at? Because the armorer didn't teach you. Like, I could easily on the stand resurrect and resuscitate his image, or at least the scenario that he's in. But the way he's been talking and the way he's been saying things, do I think Alec Baldwin's going to jail? No, he's not going to jail. I mean, he may get, I don't know. He's not going to jail. He's going to write a big check to that woman's family and her, her widowed husband and her almost orphaned child, because they have to be able to survive loss of income and, enjoyment of her for the next 50 years. So it's more beneficial for the courts to give them money to move on than it is to put him in jail for the rest of his life. Last thing, and I hate to do this one, but this is one of those. It's another example. What's the one thing I use if we have co-hosts on the podcast, and it's some topical story. If it's political or if it's maybe whatever, I say the same thing. First reports are almost always wrong. Things happen very quickly. Narratives get told. Sometimes they get assumed, then they get repeated, and you don't really know. And then a lot of times your biases, you are conflating what you want to be true versus what you know to be true. And we have to talk about Paul Pelosi. A lot of people on my side of the aisle, were of the opinion that all these theories about Paul Pelosi, right? About this attacker, this guy that, whacked him with a hammer. And they're talking about the glass, and like the glass is knocked out, not in. And, this guy's part of a nudist colony, or this guy's part of maybe he's a sex worker. All these crazy theories about Paul Pelosi, right? And people, when enough people say things, more people tend to repeat it as fact because they're surrounded by a bunch of people who are saying it if it's fact. But if objectively you were to say to yourself, we don't know this, I haven't seen the video, I don't know what I'm looking at with this glass, all of these things. Well, the video has come out, okay? And a lot of people who made off-color jokes and made comments about Paul Pelosi and whatever his proclivities are, when he was hitting the head with a hammer and almost killed, the man's, I think, in his 80s. You look terrible. I've seen the video. The guy, the attacker, he shows up at Pelosi's house. He's literally looks like a guy that, could be hitchhiking, down, I-10 across the country. He's got two large backpacks. He walks around to the back. He's looking around. He kind of peeks into the window, and he reaches down to one of his backpacks and he pulls out a little hatchet, and he peeks in the window again, I think, and he starts hatcheting through the glass, and as his hatchet goes in, it gets stuck, and then he pulls it out, and he hits, and he pulls it out, and he hits, and he's pulling the glass out to break into this house. And a lot of people that said a lot of things they did not know to be true look like assholes. And where does Paul Pelosi go to get his reputation back? I'm not defending Paul Pelosi, but Paul Pelosi is the husband. He's not Nancy Pelosi. I wasn't real hip on attacking Michelle Obama. Rightfully so. She said and did some stupid things. And when she said stupid things, she got blowback on it. But Paul Pelosi, it's the same thing. He's a spouse. Okay, he gets information for insider trading. They're wealthy people. They've got opportunities that most of us never have. But that has nothing to do with the fact that he got hit in the head with a hatchet by a crazy person. And we tried to make it, my side tried to make it into some kind of gotcha without having the facts. If you have the facts, or let the things go where they go, what we've done with Paul Pelosi is no different than what the left did with the laptop. What you want to be true versus finding out and waiting to see what is true. And we all have to try to be a little better. So with that said, this wraps up episode 287 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see any more stories or pictures or links of anything we discuss, please go to the website at john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good night.